Man, I don't know what's exciting or what's scary. Life will be fun.
It's actually kind of insane. What really scares me the most is your transition to what you see, to what you didn't want to see yourself.
I have now become my worst nightmare.
The project manager.
Ugh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Agile Scrum, man. I mean, no. I'm not talking about being all QA and Shalini and everything.
It doesn't matter, bro. Those guys haven't been still lost. Goodness gracious, bro. Oh my god. Oh my god, bro. It's actually crazy, man.
Man, the horror stories. Agile Scrum, those. Lord knows the amount of data that Zoom has on us. Bro, no, it never happened, but I once got like 12 tickets on a Friday.
Bro,
And I asked myself, what did I do to this woman?
Week 5, welcome back, ScorCast. It's me and Alex, once again.
How's it going, guys?
Absolutely. And this week we have a couple of interesting stuff on edge tech and just a bunch of random stuff. I'd like to bring to you guys' attention it's our 5th episode in a row, consecutively since the beginning of this brand new year. So to that, cheers to you guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. However many of you do.
All of the
Every time that you
folks.
do. Yeah, absolutely. So we just really appreciate you guys. We'd like to dedicate this episode to you as our supporters, as many as you are, even if it's just a handful. So yeah, with that said, let's just get into today's episode, guys. Okay, we're still rolling. He'll do all that he needs to do. But anyway, synthetic biology and biohacking. Complete 180-degree difference on topic of whatever we've talked about before. But I can tell you something right now. It has an interesting couple of things. I mean, right now so far, one interesting thing about biohacking that I've found fairly interesting. First of all, Neuralink, obviously, in his entire ordeal. And then secondly, you can get NFC chip implanted onto your finger or anywhere here on your hand. Payment near it, NFC, and then you can pay obviously in thin air.
World of automation.
World of automation, right?
Yeah.
And then there is the really big stuff, right? The really interesting stuff, more towards the sci-fi stuff what we see in the movies. And that's obviously mind control, bro. Are you Magneto? Am I Magneto? Is this days of the future past? I don't know. But with the way this guy's forehead is looking like, I can't just put it on him again. It comes again!
Man, you hit it like a ticking time bomb. I didn't see it coming. Yet the bomb hit. You prepped for this.
No, okay, no, seriously, guys, enough of the Magneto. Okay, seriously, enough of the shit. But seriously, besides Magneto and all that sort of stuff, the underlying technology behind biohacking, and it really, when you think about it, theoretically at least, it's called using your neurons to control something or send signals that can control something in real life, right? Like so, flip on switch, and then if you have a chip in your brain, that will pretty much read the electricity. And because we found a way to program electricity, we can understand electricity. So, as we move on to that, we can say that, as an example, if you had thought about flipping a switch on and off, and obviously if everything was connected together, you had a chip in your brain, something that can relay the electricity across the room or other the bandwaves to the actual switch to off it or on it. Then obviously that switch is automated in itself, motorized and all that sort of stuff. That would be fairly interesting actually. I don't think it would be that bad. Like we could have this entire ordeal of everything is so easy now, but when you're thinking about it, wouldn't you want to do things without thinking about them? Opening your garage door, maybe opening a cabinet when you don't have your hands free, right?
This brings up, man, I like the chain of topics that we inline, because basically this links up to what we highly touched around episode 4.
Yeah.
World of automation. Yes, I would love that as much. Samsung had admittedly pioneered this initially with Bixby routines, and it wasn't like fully automated because then one would have to specify certain beat, it's basically non-reflex AGI if you can, and it worked for a certain portion of people. I haven't seen it or heard it being advertised or been advocated as a solution to everybody's problem. So I think we can apply dynamicity here and use actual data from actual people's lives and
Absolutely.
put it in automation.
Absolutely. You know, they say we're at a point in the world where all the information of humanity is at our fingertips. That couldn't be more true.
That is
However,
true.
what if all of humanity's information was simply with you? Just as second nature as it would be for you to drink a glass of water, for you to think about what Napoleon smelled like when he died. I'm sure that was.
I'm very sure that wouldn't be a pleasant surprise. Because experience-wise, man, okay, that's literally sniffing into somebody's historical butthole.
Okay. Yeah, alright.
Nah.
Alright, okay. So, you know what, besides that very vague and horrible example, smelling Napoleon's dead body isn't exactly the best or most useful thing to do with this type of technology.
Oh, for real.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about it in a second nature type of way. You know, if we associate what we were talking about to something like omnipotency. Omnipotency in its own way is be all, hear all, see all at once. Right? Essentially, you're God, but you're not God in this case. You just have the information, available to you
And the processing
very,
power.
very quickly for you to make, the best possible decision for that your best possible outcome in that situation.
All right.
Yeah. So really with biohacking, we kind of move on to more of a cyberpunk era, and that's really interesting. I mean, obviously hacking ourselves.
The DeLorean age, isn't
Yeah.
it?
And wouldn't you think if it was really interesting, because we had talked about it in the last episode, our brains can only think of so much, they only can go so far. There is a boundary layer to how far we can think as such, right? Even on the most complex topics, it's really always a boundary layer. And even the things that we don't know, we simply can't just think of them. We can't think of something we don't know, something brand new and such, right?
Yeah.
Right? So what if this biohacking thing could come and, kind of, help us with that boundary a little bit, or even lower the bar for us to go ahead now and think about things that we couldn't do. Because when you think about it, having an extra layer, or rather, having an extra layer of technology in your brain, chipset.
It will enhance. It will
That's like
enhance.
all the
I
other
don't
things, yeah.
disagree. But then now we're looking at tech as a tool to overcome the creative block in some certain literal contexts.
Yeah, that's very true.
More dopamine booster
That's
just to
very
get your
true.
energy levels up and
That's
everything.
very true.
But in terms of it being an assistant
Yeah.
and relying solely on your cognitive inputs for it to multiply your abilities, of course, and it's been done to date, but it hasn't been interfaced fully with the human biology system. So
That's right.
yeah,
That's right. The human frontal lobe cortex or frontal cortex lobe, whichever order the word is in. Basically, the front of our brain is really good at dealing with the current situation. And if I'm not wrong, it was the Abdullah Oblumangata. Okay, that I completely butchered that name by the way. Completely butchered that name. Absolutely dead.
for the first time
What?
in 5 episodes, tune in for the next
Holy
one.
moly, yeah, tune in for the last one. Yeah, but besides that, bro, so there are parts of your brain, many different parts, but the ones that would really help, in effect with this chip is the oblongata and the frontal lobe cortex. The frontal lobe cortex being good at dealing with the current situation, and obviously the other one being good at remembering it and being good for problem solving. Right, and the thing about the second one I mentioned, the
Talk about getting a gun in your head, man. I mean, you blew yourself up, bro.
Yeah, I did. The Oblumangata. Basically, the thing about the Oblumangata.
Question before we move forward. Did you bite yourself?
I didn't bite myself. I didn't, bro. If I did, I would shed a tear. It would have been really sad.
Binary. Of course, then, yeah, I would have.
You guys said it like it's so normal. Like I do it all binary, bro. Like shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? No. So, anyways, with the chip, for these parts of the brain, very interesting thing. It can do some interesting things. And then obviously, all of this is cool. Being super smart is cool. Being able to know and do things without actually doing them and knowing them is also pretty cool. But the problem is with all of this is regulatory and compliance. There's literally a chip in our main organ, the literal organ that allows us to be who we are as such. You know what I'm saying? We could live a life and say that, well, if something really happened with your brain in a stroke situation or in any situation at all, you'd be left, paralyzed. These people who get strokes, if they don't fully recover from a stroke, whatever position their muscles went into, stay like that. and that's true for your face and for every other muscle in your body. So when we're thinking about it like this, it's like we have this extra chip in a very, 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 very sensitive part of our body, and this chip is also sensitive. It's also supposed to help this very incredibly sensitive part of our body. And it's like these two things are really cool. One is really smart, the other one is also really smart, and it's derived its own things. But one has external control, while the other doesn't. We control ourselves to some degree. The external control
penetrating into reality.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Biology is
Yeah, that's right. And looking at it like this, obviously controlling our brain, sending whatever anyone wants to send us to that chip, would obviously mean that it can be governed.
First things off, security is something that we should not mess with.
It's
totally, because apart from compliances that are, just basically initialized as primary protection. Most of the extent of the damage, you might say psychologically hurts or hinders, a specific individual, but then it doesn't really extend towards biological mishaps, right? It's more psychological to what you pertain and what you're doing.
I can see how that works, right?
Where we are going right now, and what you just suggested, will basically cross-cut both the two. Because first, in terms of just security, we're passing electricity, which is extra current, into the human nervous system.
Yeah, that's right.
And we're trying to communicate or transmit signals and everything, having translators in between, right? That is not a bad thing. But if I per se may have maybe a razor blade, one of my favorite apps, by the way, hidden behind a bunker somewhere, and I just happen to have a beef with you online. And I'm like, okay, so I know your IP address, I know where you live, I can tap into your home Wi-Fi, and
beef is pretty much just going to get a whole lot more.
Exactly. So if at all, but then there is a space of development here that I feel might be rising.
And I agree with you actually. Biohacking is a big ordeal.
Exactly.
Even if it's in the beginning, it's actually still currently $1 billion funded, backing.
True.
Yeah. Right.
So just as we're implementing AGIs into enhancing biological thinking and features, we're also implementing AI as a security enhancement to protect, some indigenous stuff from happening. Yeah. And that's where business comes in, because then there's a problem that we need to solve.
That's right.
Maximizes the use case for
That's right.
I just hope it doesn't get to that level though, because I'll admittedly say it will be safer for us to ensure very integrate and verbose security compliance systems before we deploy new enhancements on biological, cyborg studies.
We definitely don't want that Friday call from our principal manager saying that your production is down. Production just happened to go to everybody's brain, bro. Everybody's brain has production. That's the problem.
Imagine having Shadeen in QA your brain before it goes into the
That's not good Shadeen shade, huh? It's certified Shadeen shade. Yeah, we'll certify that. It's a good certification. It's good Shadeen. Anyways, getting on, besides regulatory and compliance and all of this. So the thing with biohacking is that it's very interesting, omnipotency to some degree, hard to regulate, and obviously scary. Because come on now, you go from us, the basic human level, first evolving to the cyberpunk era, where you're now chipping your head. That's supposed to do you good, yeah. Sorry?
R2D2.
Oh yeah, R2D, yeah, that's
Star
right.
Wars everything.
That's right, Star Wars everything, man.
C3PO.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
What are the days?
Yeah, man. But then who knew, man? Regulating and keeping compliance with a small little metallic chip in people's brains is actually a lot more harder than you think it is. And not to mention the amount of legal wars that will be sparked just from this entire industry coming up as an idea all to begin with.
Well,
there's a lot going on, man.
I'm not saying that. Sorry to kind of dive
No,
totally contrary to your context, but
yeah.
I'm saying in such a way that if we look at what we've been doing in the Hollywood, Bollywood movie industry,
Yeah.
that's a form of prediction of actual events in any path that we try and initiate
Yeah,
as our
yeah.
forefront, right?
That's right.
So in your case scenario now coming back, I'm trying to reference the movie. It's not a movie per se. I'm bad with names again, but it's a series where this guy takes like an enhanced pill and he gets super smart. And because he's the only person in the world, I mean, it's safe. But I'm imagining the probability of having, and the possibility of having maybe 10,000 of those guys just running around.
Yeah, guys, why do drugs make us dumb? Why can't they just make us super freaking smart, man? Like, honestly, trying to think about it. Like, work.
Well, that's the thing, because we take drugs to have fun, and
Yeah,
that's all it
pretty
is.
much. Yeah, no, so besides drugs and regulatory and compliance with biohacking, that entire topic, I would have to say, and this stage is actually right here. It's actually where we are talking about, because realistically, well, from this point, it really won't be biohacking, more like bioengineering. The only technology that has come so far that can react with our human body to a highest level, the intelligence level, is obviously Neuralink, the chip in your brain. Everything else has to do with the physical aspects of your body. If something goes wrong with your leg or your arm, mechanical.
Prosthetics.
Biomechanical. Exactly. Now, with bioengineering, however, it's a different case altogether. Okay, so it's just a case. Okay, because bioengineering is applied to for mechanical, medical field, but not on this level, not the intelligence level, right? And so, coupled with AI and all these agents that are coming up, I think we're too smart. I think we're gonna need those stupid drugs, guys. I think we're gonna need those drugs that make us dumb.
Well, whatever that we're looking at as the marginal context of our ability to understand might be the only limit. The cloud, the sky is
the cloud, what was that all about?
The cloud is part of the sky. I was just trying to point out a specific entity that exists in reference to this retrospect. It's not directly clear, but
oh my goodness, bro.
No.
I offer prayer every morning to Amazon, bro. I just have to offer prayer every morning to Amazon. I have to, bro. You have to offer a prayer every morning to Amazon, and make sure that they don't charge you on their ELK. Elastic load balancer, ELB, the elastic load balancer, yes, that's right. The ELB, bro, there are some cheeky people. There's some cheeky, they can throttle that shit and you won't even know.
Come on, why you on Jeff Bezos?
Yeah, man, do they have logs? Hell no, you don't have to search that shit your own.
Well, yeah, they do have logs, but then you don't bother to watch them, so that's why CloudWatch is there.
Fair point. I don't watch them, that's right, fair point.
Hence, they actually built you CloudWatch for you to, hey.
Fair point.
Fair
point, but I'm not about to build a dashboard for 30 cents. Screw that, man. I ain't got 30 cents laying around for watching my ELBK. Screw you. I ain't 30 cents, man. I don't have 30 cents for ELBK on CloudWatch.
Excuse my pal here. He's short circuiting because he's a DevOps engineer, and what I just said kind of punctured his head. So.
How do you, CloudWatch? Not with those dashboards. God almighty.
But hey, speaking of bioenhancements with cloud management ability, that's an enhancement right there.
Yeah, bro.
Wake up in the morning, you have real-time data of what's happening in current infrastructure.
Real-time data. It's like 1 million times.
In the back of your head, and you're like, okay, so now I got, all right, this is our current building, these are our current deployments. Okay, on today's task. Imagine autonomously in the back of your head, taking off each and every task every day, but just maybe a say of a word, like, okay, fine, move a certain cluster to North Virginia, because now we're basically moving for staging to production.
That's right.
And with that, automation pipeline comes in, it creates the clusters, it does all blah, 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 and your task is done.
Pretty much, that's the thing.
That's heaven right there.
It is, right? And the thing about all these underlying technologies, artificial intelligence, general intelligence, intelligence in general, anything that you build out there that gives any sort of value or service that lives on the internet has to do with the cloud to some degree.
Oh,
The
yeah.
cloud, in real time, is obviously our application modernization game changer. It came from on-prem, we got the cloud, and before it was even on on-prem, it was actually even much worse. It was monolith, all garbage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Monolith days are gone.
Gone. And so on the modernization
thank
chart,
God for
thank God.
Enterprise.
Yeah,
Really.
thank God for exactly for the cloud and that such. And that's a really interesting thing about the cloud. We talk about these technologies, we don't mention it that often. But what we want everyone to know is when we're talking about these technologies, they wouldn't exist, at least not the way they work in today's world without the cloud. The real-time aspect is a real huge deal.
Can I broaden up what the cloud is just for
Yeah, absolutely.
our dear
Go ahead.
friends?
Go ahead.
So think of it this way. I'm using a phone in Dar es Salaam and you have this MacBook in Arusha, right?
That's right.
So me accessing this MacBook over the internet basically is referenced to as cloud technology.
That's right.
It's just another computer sitting on the other side of the world and you can just communicate with it through the internet.
Exactly.
Thank God, this is what Amazon found out to be one of the most prominent solutions to scale any service distribution around the
That's
world.
right, that's
And
right.
it has been proven worthy of its name, Enterprise.
Oh, very
Right.
worthy.
So
Extremely worthy. Yeah, no. With the
that's,
amount of data
that's
centers.
cloud, basically. Yeah.
Oh man, all this, they got a lot of stuff. I mean, even so much so they have their own variant of Linux to run on their own cloud.
Yeah,
Right,
perfect.
Amazon.
I mean, but though I'm kind of trying to, there is a KYC on Amazon on, I don't know if they've gone public with such information as what was their investment capacity initially for them to, kick
You're
it
picking the
off.
cloud now. I understand exactly what
Because
you're saying.
Um,
It's a $25 billion market.
they had that problem back then where they had they had to run everything on-prem and then they were dealing with space issues, infrastructure, optimal climate and connectivity, and then they were like, okay, fine. Put a server somewhere, have it isolated in its own compatible environment, and we connect to it via, initially it was just, like Telnet, SSH and everything, and now we got, internet protocol
I
supporting
mean,
it, so.
yeah, absolutely, I agree, man.
Which we still do use the same connectivity protocols, but it's just enhanced right now, it's faster.
That's right. You have seen them back in the days when they just had first introduced Lambda, the entire server SH. Having a server but not really having a server.
Edge computing.
This was during the times where we were just trying to really minimize idling time for every single resource we had, right? And like back then, EC2 didn't have these capabilities that it had right now. It had the ASG, the auto scaling. But as for, how do I say this, minimizing the resources, when it's not being used or the least amount of time where it's not being used throughout the day, didn't do that. And so when they came up with Lambda, they actually were directly against Cloudflare. They were called Flare workers, something Cloud workers, the Cloudflare. And Cloudflare have serverless functions. They call them Cloud workers or Cloudflare if I'm not wrong. And the thing about it is when Amazon came out with Lambda and went against Cloudflare, they actually had lost some money because Cloudflare were doing things better than whatever was
Of course, it existed.
Then obviously they introduced the container runtime. Like you could just run the container as a function. They introduced a couple of other things. This was obviously new times when container technology really came out. But once it did, and Lambda, it got its very well received update that included the entirety of OS redoing their entire UI for the console. Then things were really, really, really getting good for Amazon because they basically had the market on chokehold. The most services, the widest horizon, the best for enterprise, the most uptime, basically everything that you'd want to pay money for was at Amazon.
Yo, I've been walking through the social world, and Gen Z developers slash engineers slash programmers are nuts. I mean, they could write promises with Hakua on it. I mean, yo.
I think we're getting too far into those.
Thank God you acknowledge, because this is basically your retrospect right here, man.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm taking the vibe, I think.
Okay, hold on a minute. I want us to go back real quick. What are Gen Z engineers? They're using promises we talk to.
Yeah, they literally incorporate their linguistics into code. You get me?
Okay, we're talking right now. I've understood you dead center.
No, imagine reviewing a PR. There's this chick called, her Instagram address was Mutual, right? And she posted this. It was kind of funny. I laughed my ass off all day, just literally thinking about the fact a 32, 50-year-old lady senior engineer is going through a PR just like hack to like, okay, wait a second.
Why 32? That motherfucker just named a function off to a
What would you have done in Sway 360 back then? That you know, I don't know how to phrase this, but what would you have done then that you know now would be the best thing for you?
Technical job wise or like in
Technical skill sets. I mean,
technical
just
sets, yeah.
just to motivate a few.
So what I would have definitely done and understood was, first of all, when you are working a tech job, the documentations will literally be your bread and butter.
We never had dogs, man.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. We didn't have docs, we had one-pagers. And the problem with the one-pagers was it makes you hard to understand. It makes it difficult to understand what exactly needs to be done.
That is true.
Because the one-pager they had is an example. I'll tell you what exactly to do, what I took away from it. But the example I'm giving is this. We have an architecture, different stages, right? Before I joined Sway, my idea of building software was one place, one time, do it until it actually works. You don't have
experiment your way through work.
Yeah, completely.
Okay.
The three different stages here, you know, it's only having an architecture that outlines how you want the application to work and what service is going to do what, but then not outlining the environment and actually how we're going to go about using all these environments, conjunctively, right? Like after dev goes staging once done there, prod, or if instead staging QA. But to know that this needs to be in this environment, not this one, and that we are going to work on this in this environment, not this one, that's important. And another important thing is to outline the technologies that we're using. They won't actually properly outline it. There was no docs as such.
Yeah, we came in and we created the entire documentation.
Yeah, pretty much the documentation.
You know, running Agile, Scrum, tickets and everything.
That's right.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So I think what I'm trying to say is every single tech startup or any startup you join that has to do technology, any software engineer that you become, anything at all, front end and back end, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if there are no technical documentations to the project that you're on, or if there is technical documentations and they don't make any sense, the very first thing to do before you even start laying down the first line of code or anything at all is to get everything in order. Everything in order, every single thing to the technology being used for anything at all. Every single crevice of the code base as such, or rather the tech stack, and basically the overall outline of the project. To know every single bit of it and then start working. Because that's the best way to when you're now actually working on it. You have these pieces of information that tell you what is expected from each and every individual segment.
Yeah, based off of experience.
Exactly. And then you can set your expectations, start working and see how far you get and see what you replicate.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so the first mistake I made was that I moved too quick. Like the way I was thinking of it was that okay, this architecture is already here, all I need to do is pretty much just replicate it. As such, replicating on us would pretty much mean getting the configuration from what already exists, putting it there, just changing it up a bit here and there. The truth was I should have actually studied the architecture more and how things correlate better. Obviously, after the second week at Sway, those things were done, but yeah, that's what I feel. And then also another thing I felt I did wrong at Sway, and this is more of like a personal character thing, was that I took things too slow as well. Like actually getting to build the things out, or rather actually getting to bring an environment up in my case because I'm a DevOps engineer. Bring the environment up, I felt like it took me too much of time. And then obviously you may counter argue and say, well, okay, well if you had the docs, if you had all the information beforehand, obviously it would have taken you less time. But then I counter argue and say that sometimes the architecture is actually very simple, it's not difficult.
It is,
yeah.
it's parameters and protocol
Exactly,
configurations,
exactly.
which are basically all these errors and bugs are cancelled out
Exactly.
through documentation.
Exactly. So really taking away from everything that I said in the 2 big points, I just feel like keeping a bigger picture on things in the back of your head while you're working in the small details is an advantage. Because you have to know where you are in the entire structure to know just how well you want to do something. And then obviously there are other things that correlate as well. If we're doing performance optimization, then you're going to have that view. Because performance optimization for one thing of the entire architecture would mean somewhere else might get a bottleneck. That's not good.
Well, somewhere else or yourself.
That's true as well. That's true. That's true. But yeah, vividly, I would say I just wish I came into the scene a lot more carefully than I did.
Yeah.
Because I felt like when I did get in after the technical interview, I felt great and all that. Obviously, feels good to get your first tech job or any tech job, especially in this year, for that matter. But at the end of the day, I felt that it was very important that I stepped in, cautiously, even with all my excitement, because yeah, man, I just felt like I under-delivered to some degree. Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is the world of enterprise entrepreneurship and software engineering for startups and everything. And just to bring up the topic, of course, thanks to our fellow DevOps Super League engineer Abhishek Jani. I call him a superhero because trust me, there are a lot of problems that we face on CI deployments. And this guy just came blazing through everything, and yeah, I really appreciate it.
Man, you know what? This guy, you know what? It's about to be a double entendre, guys. I have the same thing to say about Alex, man. Full stack is actually no joke whatsoever. Full stack is quite a big deal.
Thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, no, it really is. Siloed systems, when you think about them in an era of microservices, multiple siloed systems working together. Yeah, it's not very easy to accomplish, man. Yeah.
But in terms of the world of today, I think there's a form of value deflation that is already happening, even in full stack, which we feared might have taken longer, but it's taken less time.
Oh.
Right? If you can Google it up, there's a product called Lovable. Just search it up, and I think statically you would get to play around with an AI tool that prompt engineers full stack application into actual market-worthy products. I'll say small prototypes here and there. But then again, when we come into the world of enterprise, we just have a long way to go. Right? We have a long way to go because we got current running systems that are steadily migrating into fully autonomous architecture and AI.
Enterprise is such a concept where sorry to take away from what you're saying, but I just want to add, it almost expands into itself.
Yeah.
Even the smaller things we end up working on days and weeks on. Like the smaller
and they take extensive planning because they impact a very core value of the business market in the organization or in all retrospects of life,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And one core aspect of enterprises was actually something we're coming to with Sway during our time in development was the disaster recovery plan for having an entirely different architecture already on standby. That's basically going to watch the main domain, and if it sees the main domain traffic is inactive as such as it's not getting through to the actual application, just switch domains and reroute it.
Right.
And then that automatically turns on.
More of a redundant read architecture, so it's like a hot zone.
Yeah.
A hot zone solution.
And another thing about it is actually it really, this was the most difficult part for me, but I'm glad they have a solution for this, Amazon. Yeah, obviously slight relief, but it's not something that complex. The global data store for databases on RDS, that for any disaster recovery, there is. and it's about gain. It's a chain. It saves you.
Really?
Yeah, it saves you. Your multi zone isn't being used while your primary is, right? It's not actually being used until it goes down to the
But
primary.
doesn't that switch based on context of what you define as the key architecture to render the
That's right.
service?
It would switch, but then the data is the key aspect. We still want the people to see what they've been seeing the entire time.
So there is zonal difference in
There
terms
was a
of the
zone difference
type
until
of data that you okay.
exactly until global data store came in.
We came in through that problem it's way as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and then it was more like we have this database here for production living on California. We have this other one in Chicago, and this is our disaster recovery plan. This is our primary. When this goes down, all the data that was here, all the terabytes of data, gigabytes of data that was here, we want it to go somewhere else so that this can take it. And that was global data store. You have your database here. This database, RDS in itself, shards to the global data store. Then whatever is here now. And that means if that goes down, this comes up, it's just going to pull right from here.
So the global doesn't really interact directly with the consumer app, does it?
No, it doesn't. It just makes sure that the data stays consistent throughout that downtime. Or, obviously there are other use cases for global data store, but yeah, in our case, it was very useful to have it for this.
Well, as a company, we strive to efficientize everything, even if it takes to automate the whole process. From your perspective, what do you think would be the best approach to automate such a concept?
I think the best approach, first of all, is that most of it is taken care of it for you, the event where the actual switchover happens for people to get rerouted to the disaster
Is
recovery.
that dependent on the provider or is it just a global available thing?
No, that's dependent on the provider. Route 53 handles this for you. They have inbuilt layer 7 network metric monitoring. And they reduce this by if traffic goes to your containers or to your EC2 and it either doesn't come out or it's just stuck there for a set time period that you can change, but default, like let's say more than 10 seconds. It's going to obviously put down the reroute. So if people go to the domain they really knew, they'll hit that domain, but then that will reroute them to the disaster recovery. You see? So they don't actually need to even remember their brand new domain name. They just have to go to the same domain they know, but they won't even know it's a different type.
It's just an internal switch.
Yeah, we want it to be as seamless as possible. So to automate the entire process is taken care of for with Route 53. Obviously bringing up the architecture and all of that and making sure things stay low and unspun. That's a bit of that's where the difficult part starts.
Yeah.
Because with Fargate, you can't really leave containers running on zero resources. They'll just go off.
You have to take them down once you're not using.
Yeah, they'll just go off. And then that brings another question, cold start.
Speaking of cold starts, just to funny highlighter if you may.
Yeah.
I passed off a social reel on Instagram.
Yeah.
A Gen Z programmer kind of wrote a script to turn off and turn on a server when people get off work using JavaScript. And I don't know, they submitted this PR into the staging branch and the senior dev was like, seriously, I mean, in all amazement, you could hear all types of cussing in the background.
Yeah, I mean, God, can you imagine? Like, what attributes would it have to be based on to know when to turn the server off, actually?
There is no basis. The basis to basically, I'll say what made sense for the Gen Z at the time was that they just wanted to save resources, period.
Okay, that's way too abstract for this.
Who would want to save resources on a web server that needs to run 24/7?
You can't do that. You can't do that. Computation power.
It's like you're turning off engines mid-flight. So
I'm saving fuel, bro. You're not saving. Okay, exactly. That's actually one of the most hilarious things ever. And then this is also another thing about the dev culture, man. It's the entire automation culture. Automating whatever, and taking instead of taking like 20 minutes to do a task, we want to take 6 hours to automate it. So we never do it again. But like, I would even argue to say to some degree that 6 hours of automation is going to save you much more hours throughout the week. That's going to come by. But yeah, no.
Because the
That's
fact
hilarious.
that experience period is the mother of all things. He considered that as the most efficient thing in his ability to think. I'm not saying it's a bad
I
thing.
understand you.
To his perspective, he is right.
That's actually quite
Outside the box, we'll factor in time zone and we'll see what the senior PR manager
honestly, I would give him kudos for that, bro. He's done something interesting. Like at least give him props for that. He's going to alter our infrastructure depending on our employees. What?
That's the thing.
That's crazy. It's actually kind of funny, actually.
The fact that he
Kudos
uses
to that guy.
JavaScript to do it, I mean, I'm not saying I'm shocked, but why use
I know
JavaScript?
it's not the thing closest to the hardware anyway. It's kind of need to tech. Obviously, that would depend on. But no, he kudos to him. That's hilarious. And actually, getting back, not to go too far away from what we were saying. Getting back to it. Basically, I forgot exactly where we were. I forgot where we were at. I forgot where we were before all of this.
We're basically on enterprise cloud infrastructure automation.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that's right. Okay, getting back to it now. So besides RTP3 taking care of that for you, global data store, have your data in one place, all centralized and decentralized. Okay, well it's kind of both at the same time because the global data store acts individually from the other databases, from the other RDS shards. So it just stores them and then whatever calls them can access the data. That's all. Yeah, and that's all available multi-zone, of course. But yeah, that's the way I would handle automation. With DevOps, there's like a very long lineage of automation. It's automation for the entirety of the beginning of the application, where it isn't even an application, to the ending of it, where it's like a headache at this point to keep it up and alive. Right? Automating that entire process is something I've always been thinking about. I find it so interesting, that entire process, because there's a lot of business mixed into that. If you automate that, it's actually going to take up a good chunk of your time. Like for you to do something else, of course, or that's automated and you can trust it. What I really like to emphasize on is trust your CI/CD pipelines, or put heavy emphasis on them, in the sense of add the testing there, add as much as stages as you can in the pipeline, so that you don't really have to come back and go back and forth between your code base and the architecture, the infrastructure itself. Just that pipeline is going to make all the more difference, I feel. If you can really heavily rely on it for a lot of the things, not only just delivering but testing. And obviously testing on different degrees, as unit testing, all kinds of testing, smoke testing, right? You get this testing done, you send it out. That's how you know your container is good. And then we can go one step further, and also their ECR have a container checking. They just call it container checking now that I think about it.
What does it do?
So it checks if your local container is written the best possible way. I don't, to be honest
Is
with
it
you,
like an AI or something?
it's not an AI. It's just a
It's an
checkbox.
automated
Yeah,
script or something?
it's their own thing. Yeah, you'll get the log reports of the container is up, and if they
So, in terms of it hitting all diverse checkpoints,
Yeah.
because you can have one way to write a CI or a container, or is there? Maybe if you can lighten me up a bit.
So with the pipeline, I believe you should keep it separate. I definitely believe you should keep it separate, because the thing about the pipeline is, how do I put this? Extending its length is actually not a bad thing. But
Okay.
extending or adding, but making a short pipeline that does a lot of things at once is a bad thing.
I
understand.
see.
Pipelines are just jobs in different stages.
Yeah.
So when you extend the pipeline, you're just adding one more extra stage. It could be the packaging, the building, the whatever.
Yo, I
testing.
got a service/product idea at AGI that deploys everything for you.
That's actually very
I
people would
mean,
use that.
for hours and everything. You
Yeah,
just buy an
people
AGI
use it.
and be like, hey, I got this GitHub repository deployed for me.
Bro, people would use that like you have no idea.
I
No
mean-
one wants to set up test definitions. No one. Zero people.
Yeah. You heard it first at ScorCast. So, hey, what do you say? Maybe it could be our fun projects on the side.
That's right, man. And actually a bit more about us, man. This is Alex, of course. And I'm Abhishek, bro, DevOps, full stack. The thing about this synergy is most people don't realize your synergy, my synergy, encapsulates the entire thing, the entirety of building.
You might say that back then I would have thought the same, but
Yeah.
right now I'm more specialized.
Okay, you're not enlightening me, bro. go SOC or let's see.
Yeah, I'm just specialized into very specific criteria where I dove too deep into deriving actual solutions that provide value. So yes, I would do full stack, but like I used to back then. But as of currently, I am more proficient with logic, use cases, algorithms. I'd rather work with a front-end engineer, or I'd rather work with the cloud DevOps engineer. So
I can understand you now.
yeah,
I can understand what you're saying.
there is no efficiency in mastering all tentacles by yourself.
I see.
Don't be the GitHub octopi. Really, it's a mirage.
That's a good analogy, can't lie. That's a good analogy. I actually was envisioning to be that guy, kind of like, yeah.
Exactly.
But no, you actually do have a point because it's just like the entire mysterious case of that 10x dev. The 10x dev in a team doesn't do well, and that matters more than the 10x dev doing well alone.
Well, they perform well, they deliver the value, but the repercussions are that you don't retain a lot of knowledge of what you've done because sometimes you might have approached something unsystematically and
It's not just
it doesn't build up a cognitive memory for remembrance.
Yes, yeah, no, that's true. And you know what? Reverting to what I had to say, because I'm thinking about this a lot harder now, and I'm also realizing because him and I are in the stage of pretty much. Well, actually, he's further in it, but I'm coming into it now. We're in the stage of having this entire startup ordeal, all the software around us, all the projects that we're doing, all the code that's coming out from us. Essentially, we got this surrounded by us, and it got me thinking that looking at it now. It's more of an individual aspect on what you specialize that's going to bring the project together, as opposed to being generalized and then doing everything yourself. That's going to make all the more difference. Because I just said that you and I, synergy-wise, we encapsulate the entire development of any application.
Yeah, you might say
to some degree it's true, but then it's also not true because data is an indispensable thing. It's very important. Data is big. Data is very, very important to have. Obviously, backend would be able to figure out the data flows and how everything works, But looking at it now, as it scale, you would need a data scientist.
Well, that's one octopi we can factor into this diversification.
We can.
Synergy, if you may.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, obviously, data scientists say to us, yeah, of course not.
No, of course to a certain extent, but in terms of actually inlining experience and delivering value, it's two different things. Because we lack the experience. We can find a way to deliver the value.
Yeah, data science is a lot of hard maths, and obviously programming is there to translate that to the value, right? Well, I'd say hard maths, so some people do it really easily.
I mean, we're all crackheads behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's true. We are all crackers behind the scene. Yeah, no, but yeah, I just want to revert what I said, guys. Looking at it now, it's very true on what Alex has brought to light. It's very true. Building an application, face value looks like it's a very simple task. As a matter of fact, it looks like you can start even right now. In fact, it's going to Flutter Flow, drag and drop. But then you come to realize by the time you started this simple application, and then when you look at the clock again to see how far you've gotten and where you need to be and where you've
ended, like the experience will take longer.
You will take longer, of course. There's factual statements, exactly. And I feel like even for the most experienced scaffolding, getting to a certain point like auth, sure, that's not a problem. Even getting further, writing the REST API to bring in the home views so that there is an entire dynamic list paging all the time, right, of just content. Sure, you could reach there faster if you had more experience. But for the majority of us, I doubt that we're going to reach there in like 2 hours. I doubt it's going to just take us 2 hours. Like the majority wise, of course. Like that's playing into more of like the 80th to 90th percentile. So it's a good majority of us. The 5-10% of us know what to do, where to go, what technologies to put together to make it.
We spend a lot of time in it.
Exactly.
So I mean, with these, let's say, newcomer engineers, of course, I would emphasize them to delve into the principles a lot.
Absolutely.
Because, I'll quote our good brother Ebenezer Don. He's a JavaScript prodigy. He wrote a book. Sorry, man, bad names. Forgive me here. But it's basically a guide to JavaScript programming from beginner to advanced. And he quoted, oh Lord, I lost the quote.
Oh.
I think Wi-Fi connection just dropped in my head for some reason.
This guy's cognitive load is like the size of 7 kilobytes right now, bro.
7 kilobytes.
I'm telling you, bro, right now, like your
Would I
ability.
be able
your
to process
ability to
sites
process-
with that memory
No,
allocation?
bro, you will not be able to process anything.
Jeez.
We're going back to the Atari days. I'm going to play ping pong on your head or something. Ping pong on your brain.
Yeah.
That's how much RAM you got.
Oh man, those were the good days though, right?
Atari was fun though. Yeah. Ping pong was fun. There was this one game called Dangerous Dave, bro. Those are also pretty fun.
I see.
Yeah, it's like, before Mario, but then they had guns and stuff, so 2D as well, it was fun. Yeah, no, things like that, man, things like that. And as for the code, bro, I can definitely understand exactly what you're trying to reference right now. 150%.
Yeah, so, now I remember, just to quote our big brother basically, foundations are the key, technology changes every day, so build your principles on them. That will, give you the upper edge to survive as a trend.
A lot of the time, this is diverting just a little bit, a lot of the time, take advice from people like these.
Yes.
Really legends, right, that have done interesting things like reading the V8 engine that's grown today, right? Legends like this have a very interesting way about going about problems in life.
Mm-hmm.
And as an example, something so simple that you just said can actually be taken and get applied into fields other than tech altogether.
Yeah.
And that's really what I also like about
Abstractly.
technology.
Exactly.
Yeah, technology, whether you want to believe it or not, whether you see it or not right now, is actually applicable in a lot of places in your life. And we're not just saying that the tech itself, but rather how we came to even have the tech itself. You know what I'm saying? Building the tech, engineering the tech itself, right? Learning to solve problems and how you perceive wins and losses. Possibly one of the biggest, single-handedly the biggest thing that's going to keep you moving through an industry that will always let you down as such.
That is very true.
Right? And especially now, I say let us down in the context of job-wise. Layoffs are happening.
Well, let us down. Yeah, it is true. When the layoffs hit, a lot of good engineers really just switched to doing something else.
Yeah, it's right. And
it's that willpower that keeps you in and keeps you moving.
It's really difficult. I can't emphasize it more than I already have. It's really difficult to see the light of hope when you're going through difficult times in your life.
Yeah.
It's difficult to do that, but it's just like as the many battles in our life, going to the convenience store, maybe you kosea cabbage, or I can't get cabbage for you, but goodness me, I'll just get a carrot instead.
What good does that serve? Those are two different things. You eat a carrot like Bugs Bunny, but a cabbage.
Exactly, but you see, it's that perception that takes us there. So I'll eat a carrot instead and keep this day going. That actually keeps the day going, as opposed to stopping the day there and saying, you eat a cabbage. It's very rough, lame example. But it's so simple, and it's actually so powerful that when we come to much more complex problems, like writing a production-grade enterprise application, you apply that there, and suddenly now you're able to see where you were where you felt like you were solidly stuck. You're now going side to side, but you're going in front.
True.
You understand what I'm trying to say? There's a wall in front of you, you're stuck at this problem. Simply switching your perspective puts you here at the side of the wall, where there is no wall, and then you get to move forward. And then switching your perspective again up there puts you somewhere else.
Yeah.
And you move forward from there.
Yeah.
And then you switch again, you move forward. And it's that same perception, that same idea of what a win is and what a loss is that really keeps you going.
Keep it moving.
Always. And with technology, it is always a bust, especially when you're getting into it. Right?
Yeah.
The first application, obviously it's not going to work. So you're going to get those errors, you're going to get no exceptions if you're starting with Java.
Well,
it's how you look at it that keeps you going.
Well, you're right. And sometimes it's not about knowing the technology. It's about mastering the complexities of applying.
You're really right as well.
Trust me, it's like riding a bicycle or learning how to ride a bicycle each and every time you get a new project. If you really don't know what you need to do and how and why, especially when you start scaling up into these big enterprise stuff, things can get messy
Exactly.
Especially when a client comes in the morning and be like, okay, after prior yesterday's meeting, I feel like feature A would result into feature C being deprived market-worthy values for value proposition. So why not bring in feature F, which was timed to roadmap 3 now, and you didn't prepare your code base for it?
There you go. This is also one of the many differentials that happen here between business and the actual engineering team.
Yeah.
It's the value of the feature as such. It's more aligns with the business values, right? And obviously, that it's hard sometimes to do it. I actually have been looking into domain-driven design. Basically, whatever you code as such, or like whatever feature. Okay, so the way I look at domain-driven design is, if we're building an app, features, we're just going to look entirely at the business value of them, and then just map it out from there, build it on from there. Instead of looking at it as the technical aspect of it, we build it on the business aspect of it. Architecturally, feature-wise and such. So domain-driven design is also one of those things that can help you correlate to it. But then there's also a bit of a bottleneck to it, because I mean sometimes you just have too many applications at once with different repositories, enterprise level. Once again, it gets a bit difficult to bring domain-driven design.
Well, thank God for GitHub organizations, because they really simplify repository management at scale.
Also, I'd like to take this time, because you mentioned GitHub. Screw GitLabs. Guys, oh my god. They did pipelines interestingly, alright? At least I could write it there, alright? It was very interesting, editor, all easy. Come on, guys. Not even 0.25% of the support that GitHub has. And definitely not even 0.25% of the creativity and innovation that you can find on GitHub.
You know, I met one of their representatives in Jitex, and they were basically vectoring us more to GitLab and GitHub due to its value proposition in enterprise, it being prominently known. I'm like, okay, yes, majority of these enterprises use GitLab and it offers orchestration out of the box. Cool and all, right? But GitHub does the same thing, but at scale.
You can make
an
absolute nightmare. Nightmare with GitHub. You can make a nightmare with GitHub, bro. The single source of truth, that methodology, and now what we have is GitOps.
It's the same, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's the same, but you know, there's a lot of constraints when it comes to implementing something enterprise and you have a fixed system. Trust me, I've witnessed the balance of both. Referencing to our previous careers, they had a monolith repo at GitLab, and we had a singleton repo at organization.
Exactly.
And we witnessed more efficiency using GitHub than GitLab.
By far.
Deployment timings were down by
way
half.
Actions,
we could take 2 minutes to deploy a feature. I once did it in the middle of a meeting.
Now that is a true way to market. Oh my god.
That's witnessing. I once did it in the middle of a meeting, and what happened was, I had low-key I had a beef with the QA. She was really micromanaging.
Bro, I could tell to some degree. On our daily huddles, bro, I could tell to some degree.
There were underlying wars happening in Sweden, man. Nobody could tell, but on each huddle, I bet for sure Jacob would have pulled a bottle of popcorn and wine and be like, yep, you know, I'm famous. But
damn Jacob, man.
But the low-key beef was basically her trying to micromanage everything. And I wasn't really used to working with a QA at that point in time. So what I did was, honestly speaking, because we already broke off the contract and everything, so free speech, right?
Free speech, pretty much.
I was more prominent to prove her wrong on each and every meeting that we had. So what I did, there was an off feature, the SSO, right? That I pushed an update in between the meeting while she was presenting, and then I kind of told her off that what she was presenting was irrelevant. And trust me, that kicked off hate at another level. To the point I witnessed my work stream changing. I mean, most of my team members, Robin, the Egyptian, Rami.
Rami is right.
I mean, they got assigned tickets, but they weren't as complex and as many as the
And
ones.
it was very visible, bro.
So I was like,
very visible.
Man, Friday nights suck, really.
Yeah, most of the workload being mentioned, it simply has your name at the end of every single sentence. Like, bro, how does that make sense? There's more than one full stack dev in the team, quite literally.
But no, the thing is that we were too diversified in terms of stack and experience. Most of them were prominent in PHP.
Yeah,
few in
and that's
JavaScript.
also why there's no PHP in our stack.
Exactly.
Ran slow, all sorts of issues.
But they were great engineers. I'm not saying
Absolutely not.
they killed off every sprint within due time.
Absolutely.
But trust me, I could tell from the amount of tickets that were being assigned. They even assigned me PHP tickets.
Yeah, you PHP, like you ran PHP.
No, I used to, but
yeah, but like obviously
not the monolith type. But
Exactly.
like, there's so many flavors of PHP. There's Symfony. I mean, Joel is a good inspiration. She inspired me a lot trying to learn programming back then, and just seeing her content on Instagram. I mean, I saw her write Symfony. I was like, wow.
I know, right? Back then,
You know,
the day's picture was different.
Yeah, links with you and everything. She created like this food app on the go, and I was just
Server-side
following.
HTML.
Yeah, but then I was like, nah, I'm not that type of dev. No, PHP wasn't for me, so I went full in JavaScript, full in Django, Python, and everything. So that's, here we are.
I definitely understand that.
Here we are.
I definitely understand that. No, QA was hilarious, bro. The thing about QA is when they get to that micromanaging part, the sad part is they don't realize they're actually doing a disadvantage to the team.
They're doing their job. They don't measure the efficiency, nor do they create valuable connections to understand what the engineer is going through at the point in time. Yeah, because that's a factor. I had a very close relationship with our project manager, Gibbons.
Yeah.
Right? We used to really understand at what point what I'm going through and what he's going through, and how we could just balance each other and help each other out to move forward. That is exactly what we used to do. We cultured that, and then with the administration team, with the business team, it basically sanctioned most of the team members into two stigmas, right? Because of that cultural understanding. So in meetings, you could literally low-key hear or feel those vibes.
Yeah.
Like, you'd be like, who's gonna shoot first?
Yeah, I really felt that too. I felt that too sometimes. I used to tell Givens, man, I'm so scared to do the daily huddle. What if I give in information that is not really useful?
Or somebody's gonna leverage that.
Yeah, in my head, the daily huddle was you do the daily huddle, okay? You meet and you talk to your guys who are working on the same thing, but the information you give under any circumstance has to be useful. It has to be
impactful.
Yeah, impactful in any way.
Yeah,
and that was far from the truth because the daily huddle was where the chaos just unleashed itself. And I mean, when Givens and Jacob went back and forth, when they were heated, bro, it was like watching something else altogether. It's like, bro, Givens was on the defensive, bro. Like my man was on the defensive. Like he was defending himself well, bro. Given in the heat of things, to stand there with a shield and just take it. Oh my god. Jacob is measuring him, bro.
Salutes, man. It takes heart. It takes heart.
Yeah, it really does, man. These things, they get heated. They really get heated. They get heated in tech, bro. Because we just really want to drive the value that we're talking about. We just really want to do our best to bring out the product. And not only have it such, it's such a pleasantly to use, it's so pleasant to use, you just feel so comfortable with it. And that, in turn, obviously, UX brings them back.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a very good thing. You need your system to be good, fast, all those things.
Oh, I'm glad when we brought in our UX designer, Brian, who was also part of the team. Tremendous work, tremendous guy. I mean, it changed the QA's attention, and I believe that wasn't a pre-planned chess move, but it played to advantage, and I really loved it. Because at any point in time that we had to ship a feature and it didn't look right, I'm like, Brian, Brian. I don't think I was pointing fingers, but I was looking at it.
I was so naive, bro. I was like, wait a minute, Brian? Again? Hold on now. The guy that is big one, oh no. Oh, but no, bro. Shout out to Brian, bro. Brian is a damn legend, man. Without him, half our UI wouldn't even look the way it would, man.
Man, he's an amazing UX.
Yeah, and really he goes one step further, man. Actually takes a little bit of, it dips his feet in the devs, front-end dev part of things, making sure the layout makes sense to a user. He really gets it done, Brian. He goes the extra step. it really takes that technicality and that business driviness into one value, you know.
That is true.
Absolutely. So Brad does very well with the UI, man. He does fantastic. Very, very good pre-planner.
So, by the way, just an icebreaker. I
Yeah.
mean, the way we run our team is almost a derivative of what we learned from Sway in terms of the cons and turning them into pros. Right?
And I really like that about us.
Yeah,
I like
I
that.
mean, the vibe is just good, and I enjoy working with you guys.
Absolutely. And I mean, bro, I have no differential for me, guys. Like, it's the same thing. All hard, all the way. I love it, man. I love working with you guys. Bry as well, bro, of course. Everybody, bro. It's great to work with you guys. And together we make up the underscore for the foreseeable future. That's right.
Yeah.
And with that, we conclude this week's podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in, as always. Yeah, this has been underscore Alex and Shake.
Peace out,
Peace, guys.